Let me start by saying I messed up. Big time. My mistake was buying the house at 1421 Hawthorne Street. It sounds cliche, I know, the guy who buys the old, charming house with character. But this wasn't charming. It was straight up haunted, and at the time, I was too focused on the price tag to see it. It was a steal, and in my mind, that meant I was smart, not stupid. Sarah, my wife, and I had just moved out of this city. We wanted quiet, space, a place where the sound of sirens wasn't the soundtrack to our lives. This Victorian, big and classic, was suspiciously cheap. I remember what the realtor, old Mr. Henderson, told me. Listen, Jake, I'm going to be straight with you. The house has some minor noise issues. The previous owners were a little sensitive, but otherwise, it's a gem. I scoffed. Minor noise issues for a house that had been sitting vacant for 5 years? Probably just old pipes or some sketchy wiring. Who walks away from a gorgeous property just because of a little buzz? I convinced myself it was a non-issue. I thought he was covering up structural damage, not this. The day we moved in, everything felt perfect. It smelled of dust and old wood, sure, but it felt like ours. We unpacked boxes, ordered a pizza, and collapsed into bed, exhausted but happy. The quiet was absolute. Then the clock hit 1 a.m. It started not as a sound, but as a vibration, a low subterranean rumble, like a massive washing machine running unevenly deep in the earth, or perhaps an engine idling somewhere far off. It wasn't a jarring noise, but a persistent low-frequency sound that bypassed your ears and vibrated in your chest. The hum. I thought to myself, okay, so this is the minor noise issue. It needs a new furnace or the HVAC system is ancient. Annoying, but manageable. We'll call a contractor in the morning. I tried to ignore it, pulling the pillow over my head, but you couldn't ignore the hum. It wasn't just a sound, it was a presence. And slowly, subtly, it began to change. Sarah was the first to crack. Her eyes were shadowed, her nerves shot. She started hearing things layered in within the drone. Do you hear that, Jake? It sounds like a muffled voice, like someone is whining. I don't hear anything, honey, just the hum. You're just exhausted. I said it, but I didn't mean it. Deep down, my gut was clenching. I did hear it too sometimes, a rhythmic quality that wasn't mechanical. At times, I swore it sounded like a sad, repetitive lullaby. The air in the house felt thick, heavy, like trying to breathe underwater. One night, the hum was so intense that the drinking glass on the nightstand actually rattled. We both sat bolt upright. What the hell was that? Sarah whispered, her voice tight with panic. It's just the house, settling, babe. It's old. But old houses settle. They don't vibrate themselves apart. After a week of barely sleeping, we were zombies. I had to find the source. I checked the fuse box, the water heater, even crawled under the kitchen sink. Nothing. The hum was always loudest in the downstairs hallway, right where an ugly, ancient area rug sat. I yanked it up. Beneath it, a patch of floorboards was newer, cleaner, clearly replaced. And beneath those floorboards was a hatch, nailed shut and painted over. Someone had gone to a lot of trouble to hide this. Damn it, why would they seal off a basement access like this? I muttered, grabbing a crowbar. This is sketchy as hell. It took me 20 minutes and a lot of splintered wood to pry it open. A cloud of musty, damp air and a distinctive, faint, metallic, rotten smell hit me. It wasn't a full basement, just a tiny, brick-lined crawl space, maybe big enough for old coal storage. It was cramped, dark, and filthy. And the hum down there, it wasn't a rumble, it was a growl. The box and the eerie recording. Shining my phone flashlight around the dirt floor, I noticed something tucked in a far corner. It wasn't nailed down or hidden under debris, it was just placed there. A small wooden box. I opened it, heart hammering against my ribs. Inside was an